The thing that I am most proud of are not the many accomplishments Diane just told you about, but it's my 25-year marriage to my husband, Jim. And I often tell people that if you knew him, you'd know what an accomplishment that really is. And now I have my beautiful daughter, Danielle, here to vouch for that. But actually, before I talk with you about Guerilla Divorce Busting, I came across something that was really humorous I wanted to share with you, and it'll give you an idea of how far we've actually come with marriage education. This is an excerpt from a 1950s high school home economic textbook on how to be a good wife. Are you ready? Prepare yourself. Take 15 minutes to rest so that you'll be refreshed when he arrives. Touch up your makeup, put a ribbon in your hair, and be fresh looking. He has just been with a lot of work-weary people, so be a little gay and a little more interesting. His boring day may need a lift. Clear away the clutter. Make one last trip through the main part of the house just before your husband arrives. Gather up school books, toys, paper, etc. Then run a dust cloth over the tables. Your husband will feel that he has reached a haven of rest and order, and this is great, and it will give you a lift too. Prepare the children. Take a few minutes to wash the children's hands and faces, comb their hair, and if necessary, change their clothes. They are little treasures, and he would like to see them playing the part. Now, here are some don'ts. Don't greet him with problems or complaints. Don't complain if he's late for dinner. Count this as minor as compared to what he might have gone through that day. Make him comfortable. Have him lean back in a comfortable chair or suggest that he lie down in the bedroom. Have a cool or warm drink ready for him. Arrange his pillow and offer to take off his shoes. And as all of the men are applauding, one woman in my marriage seminar said, "And where shall I throw them?" Speak in a low, soft, soothing, and pleasant voice. Allow him to relax and unwind. And finally, make the evening his. Never complain if he doesn't take you out to dinner or other pleasant entertainment. Instead, try to understand his world of strain and pressure, his need to unwind and relax. During one marriage seminar, a fellow came up to me during a break and said, "You know, my wife was supposed to be here with me, but she was ill, so I came by myself. Could I get a copy of that so I could tell her that that was what the seminar was about?" Thankfully, we've changed a bit. Okay. I want to explain to you the odd-sounding title of my keynote, Guerilla Divorce Busting, and to do so, I have to read to you a letter that was sent to me, which actually gave me the idea for the keynote. Dear Michelle, I was getting a manicure about 6 weeks ago at a nearby salon. There was a woman at the table next to me getting a manicure as well. I didn't know her or even speak to her that day. The girl doing my manicure asked me what good book I was reading at the time, and I told her The Divorce Remedy and proceeded to enlighten her with the key points in your book. I had no idea that the woman next to me getting a manicure was separated from her husband and considering divorce. My manicurist told me yesterday when I was there again that this woman overheard me talking, went out and bought your book, and reconciled with her husband. This woman goes on. This woman goes on to tell me that she's a nurse in a mammography department, and women tend to open up to her, and every time anyone drops a hint of a marital problem, she really nails them about doing something constructive about their marriage. That's guerrilla divorce busting. I just love this letter because to me it demonstrates the incredibly profound way that we can impact people's lives. It shows us the impact that we can have when we least expect it, in the most unlikely of places, in the most unconventional ways. This unsuspecting woman who was having her nails done Remember, she was having her nails done. She wasn't in a marriage therapist's office. She wasn't attending a marriage education class. She wasn't even sitting in her Sunday sermon. She was having her nails done. So this letter kind of got me thinking. I started to reflect on my own life, and I thought back to turning points, times in my life when something someone said or did influenced me and really transformed my life. And you know what? I wasn't having my nails done, but one such transformation occurred during the course of a casual conversation with a man who happened to be one of my graduate school professors. I was his research assistant for the summer, and every day I'd go into his office and help him compile his data. And one day I was in a funk, and he noticed that I wasn't my usual sunny self, and he asked me what was wrong. I was learning a great deal about family therapy and how families work. And suddenly I found myself scrutinizing the relationships of my family members, and I started to feel sad and out of sorts. My professor suggested that we put our work aside and that we talk. And I explained to him that up until that point in my life, and I was about 25 years old at the time, I'd always thought that I'd had the perfect family. But now I was questioning that reality. I always had an extremely close relationship with my mother. We talked about everything. We were more like friends than mother and daughter. But my father was different. He was very focused on his work. And unlike my mother, we rarely had open discussions about my life. And for most of my childhood, I just assumed that that's the way fathers are, and I was fine with it. I was a very happy kid. But now, I just kept having this nagging thought that maybe my father had failed me, and that I should have had a closer relationship with him, more like the one that I had with my mom. This new awareness made me feel as if I had the rug pulled out from beneath my feet, and I was deeply saddened. My professor sat quietly as I shared with him my revelation about my father and about my feelings of loss. And when I was through, he spoke, and his words have impacted my life in ways that he will never know. He could have responded the way that many conventional therapists do, acknowledging my pain, commenting on my father's inadequacies or his fears of connection, exploring the impact an emotionally absent father has on his daughter. But he did none of that. Instead, he helped me take a step back and look at my family from a broader systems perspective. We talked more about my mother and how our intense closeness, which undoubtedly was a blessing, left little room for my father's involvement. I had really never thought about it that way before. We talked about my father's dedication to work, not as a deficit, but as a source of pride. He pointed out, and rightfully so, my father's fierce determination to provide well for his family and offer my brothers and me opportunities that he, a Holocaust survivor, never had. I have a little smiley face on my speech to remind me not to cry. And before our talk ended, he asked me to think about the unique ways my father showed his love to me, ways that, although different from my mom, were nevertheless heartfelt. So I sat quietly for a moment, and I became deluged with poignant, sweet memories. I recalled my father teaching me to ride a bike, and my feeling of exhilaration when just at the right moment he let go. Or the times he took me skiing and I was too cold to take off my mittens to fix my skis. My father always came to the rescue. I remember thinking that he seemed so strong, so protective, and so impervious to the cold. And then there were Sunday mornings when I would play the piano in our family room, and my father would sit for hours just listening. No, we didn't talk about the details of my life like my mother and I did, but my father's love and devotion to me was indisputable, thanks to my professor. And the interesting thing is, not only did I leave his office that day with my father-daughter relationship intact, I left with a lifetime of lessons about love. And I have taken these lessons about love into my 25-year-old marriage, motherhood of my own 2 children.